Would you please stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance with us? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Hannah.
Yes.
Thank you. Before we do the approval of the agenda, I wanted to let some of you know, it was supposed to be on our agenda tonight to have an open hearing for Second Street assessments for curb and sidewalk, or curb and gutter, gutter, is that right? Okay. But it did not get published like it needed to be, so it's not on tonight's agenda. Good, I'll let you. Also on the agenda, or on the list, is Dan Lake in regards to the police building. So if you would like to come up for that, it's not on the agenda. And you can give us your name, address, and then state your comments.
Hi, I'm Dan Lake, 815 3rd Street Southeast, Independence. And I watched the council meeting last time on TV, and our chief said that the Medical Associates building, that would be cost more than building a new building. Well, I've designed out the last 3 police stations in this town and city halls, and I'm in commercial construction, and renovating is at least a third less. With Medical Associates, you got $80,000 in parking lot right there. You got a shell of a building what's already up, and right there is $50,000. So you're already saving that much more money. And removing them walls on that interior, that's easy, because the trusses span clear across. You go in, you open that whole thing up, and then you just put your walls where you want them and your windows. Then if you want to add a safe room on it, where you can pull your car in to take people in and out of the car into the building, that's minor.
One of the reasons that the task force did not select that is they didn't want to take that property off the tax roll.
Okay.
So that's why they selected it to be put someplace that the city already owned the property. So
Okay.
that's where, what
Well,
the
if they want to
recommendation
use a park, why not use the north side of Samber Hill? That does not get used whatsoever. And the south side, there's the shelter there. And on the southwest side, there's a shelter. On the southeast side, there's playground equipment. And then when it comes to removing that shelter up there, that's 15,000 plus to have that torn down and rebuilt with all that concrete. And,
Well, again, the task force, their recommendation was the northwest corner of that park. It was voted on at the last meeting and passed that that's where we would locate it. It's not completely finished, but that's what the decision
Okay.
was made of the council at that
well,
time.
did the task consider, did they even look at what Medical Associates building was gonna cost? What's the cost of that? I don't even know.
I don't have all the details, but they looked at every place.
And then do they know what our new police station is gonna cost without bids coming in?
We have a general idea, so.
Was there
That's
three?
that's the most I can answer for you tonight, so we'll take your information, have it in the minutes, the council can look at that, discuss it, whatever. But,
Does,
otherwise, it's not on tonight's
I know that,
agenda for that,
I-
so.
but I just wanted to speak about it.
I can say that the committee that studied the police station, we were told not to look at cost factors as far as building a new one. We were asked to look at what would be the best location, what does the police force need, and what would be the best location for meeting that need. And those were the criteria we went on. The other thing that the committee members, as Mayor Davis has already said, one of the things that the committee made clear early was they did not want to take anything off of the tax rolls. Because we taught, and that was the primary reason for not taking further looks at Medical Associates or even at the Rydell building out here that's eventually will be vacated.
Correct, that was my next thing.
Yeah, so that's where the committee was coming from. That particular location was outside of being able to be in with the sheriff's office would be the ideal location for the police and their interaction with the courthouse. And that's the primary reason that that location was picked out over some of the other parks, was that sewer and water were already located there because at one time, the chamber building was there, I think the Little Red Schoolhouse, and even before my time, and I'm pretty old, but before my time, the police station was there before on that corner. So those were the primary criteria that the committee was tasked with looking at, besides what did they need inside the building. So
So how much taxpayer money is going into this? That the public could not have a vote on it?
The council, 2 years ago, did set aside in a reverse referendum public hearing, $790,000, or technically, they can go up to 1.1 million for what they had looked at that time. That's still in place. It is not expected to be a $1.1 million building. That was the number that was earmarked at that point in time. The money, majority of the money for the police station is already being taken in. It's based on the rent that we were paying at the county. When we moved out to the current location, the rent is lower, but instead of lowering that, we have been taking that money and setting it aside for the new police station so that there is not that sticker shock.
Somebody was thinking.
And so we are, not knowing what the bids are, I can't tell you what that final number will be, so I don't know where that's going to fall out, but the vast majority of that expense is already set aside, or being set aside on an annual basis.
Well, I was just a little shocked, being in the construction business, that you automatically outruled existing buildings, what could have been used, and just automatically decided to build a new one, when 3 other locations, properties were bought, and then just basically thrown on the side.
the other thing is, there's been a lot of discussion on the property to the south end of the fire
I
station.
drew that out also.
And the problem we have is even this evening, folks probably had a little bit of trouble finding some parking space. And that's one of the problems there was the parking. The other thing is the committee members felt that that property, eventually the fire department's going to need some additional space. I mean, when we bought our latest fire truck, we were very concerned that we were going to be able to get in and out of it, so that we thought, well, we've got that property there. I shouldn't say we, I was on the committee thought that that's probably something we should keep for the fire department. And with the additional traffic that would be generated by the police department being located there, we'd almost have to purchase some other properties to create a parking lot. And again, that would have taken the old Casey's building off the tax rolls, would have taken the old real estate office off the tax rolls. And the committee members were very strong in that they didn't want that to happen.
Well, I'm just totally against ruining a park. One of the parks was mostly widely used. I'm not against you guys. But I just think that's crazy. But that's just my own opinion. But that's it. Thank you.
Thanks,
Danny.
Thank you. Sorry, Mayor.
It's all right, thank you. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda, and I need a motion to accept and approve the consent agenda that approves the following: the minutes of the May 14th, 2018 regular meeting, Fire Department finances for the month of April, Bill's Pizza and Smokehouse ownership change, A&E Spirits LLC Class B wine permit, Class C liquor license, LC commercial, outdoor service, and a Sunday sales liquor license, June 19th, 2018 through June 18th, 2019. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by O'Laughlin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion is carried. Next on the agenda is approval of claims for payment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Kurtz. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion is carried. Next on the agenda is Officer Lau. If you would come forward, please.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
Good. Since we last talked, I'm happy to report, we did have one property. It was actually our first property within 4 years of taking over the municipal code enforcement for the city on the police department. Was actually set to go to abatement to have the city come in and clean a property up. But fortunately, a few days before the cleanup date, I posted a notice there, talked to the neighbors nearby and stuff, and lo and behold, a couple days before cleanup was set, the property was actually cleaned up. So it just took to the point to where they knew that, we were gonna follow through and that it was going to be done and they would be billed for that or assessed it, and that's the only one that we've actually had to push that far in 4 years, so that's pretty good statistics for us. Aside from that, I've been pretty busy as far as handing out flyers and stuff for our citywide cleanup, which is coming up here on June 9th. So I'm looking for a really good turnout for that, and then we'll be starting a lot more of our junk enforcement and stuff after that date, after we've allowed people to use our service to, reach our helping hand out to let them clean up their properties. We've also been long yards goes this year, and actually in 4 years, this is probably the most we've had this early in the season. I think over the last 2 weeks, I think I maybe forwarded 10 properties to Parks and Rec already that need to be mowed. It just a couple vacant houses, the same ones that are every year that just don't maintain their property. So we've been kind of busy with that, but we'll be moving full swing after citywide cleanup.
How many have gotten mowed, do you know, Brian?
They were going to be going out sometime this week. I know that.
What's it cost to them to get it mowed?
First offense is $200, and I believe it goes up $100 per offense thereafter. Part of the issue is, the grass decided to grow very suddenly, it seems like. Our Parks Department has been short-staffed. They won't be fully staffed for help until June 1st. So we haven't been able to go out. We've been working to keep the parks themselves mowed primarily at this point, so.
Correct.
But that will start as soon as we had a couple start today, and I think there's some more coming by the end of the week. So.
Right, and what you see is, after the first time that we, the city, come out and mow that property, a lot of times now they start getting it mowed, because as soon as they see that bill, they make it a point to make arrangements, so. Granted, we had 10 in the last 2 weeks, we got 4 that are waiting to be mowed, but as the year goes on, that number shrinks drastically once people realize that we're gonna be on top of it, so.
How come they don't mow the whole yard, Al?
If we mow it, we do mow the entire yard.
No, they don't. No, there's one down by me last year, they never touched it. This year, they didn't touch the backyard. It's kind of got a chain link fence in there. I was just curious, can we get a goat put back in there and kind of eat that stuff up? Because they're not doing it with a lawnmower.
Well, we haven't mowed anybody's yards yet this year, Denny.
Well, somebody did.
Yeah, that did not come from the city.
Really?
We haven't been out there yet
Well, I'm
this year.
certainly glad they didn't pay $200 for that job.
Danny, are you talking about the one down on Ninth Avenue?
No, Third Street,
Okay,
right across from me.
okay. I'll have to take a look at it, but I do know that we had one down on Ninth Avenue, like in the 400 to 500 block, that was really bad. And we had someone call and complain that said, hey, the city didn't mow the whole yard, they only mowed the front. Well, the city never came out, they never mowed anything. If somebody lined up, it was for sale, they came out and just mowed the front section where the realty sign was. So, left the whole back and.
Make sure everybody knew it was for sale.
Yeah. So we get that on the other side, but, and if I drive by and I notice that, they may have missed something that they didn't know that they had to mow, they're usually pretty good about them. They'll give me a call and say, hey, what needs to be mowed here? Do we need to trim this area? They were good about that last year anyway, so.
We could put a goat out there, you would never see the goat anyway.
The grass be too.
Grass
There's
is
an
higher than
ordinance
fence.
against that.
Isn't it Storm Lake that uses goats to clean the riverbank?
Yep.
Yeah, they do have goats that they hire out to do,
Rent a goat?
rent a goat, absolutely. And they do
Should look into
riverbanks
that,
that they can't put people on safely, so. Yeah, it's an interesting solution.
At my mother-in-law's funeral here this last week, a friend from Manchester was telling me her endeavor. They have somebody, the neighbor, that only mows the front lawn. So whenever she complains to the city drives by and only sees the front lawn and thinks somebody mowed it. So I told her, we'll take a picture of the back lawn too, so
Yeah,
everybody has the problem.
yes. Anybody else have anything throughout the last month? Anybody in your ward's been,
My ward wants to thank you what you did over there.
I see they did get that tree trimmed up nice and high now,
Yes,
so.
they did, and that sign is,
Yep,
good job, Brian.
thanks.
Brian, the only comment I would make is I've noticed that there's a couple of properties that continue to want to push their grass into the street when they mow.
Your efforts, Brian.
Next on the agenda is Catherine Gordon.
Stranger, right?
Just give us your name and address.
Right. I do live on 4th Street Southwest, the very last house on the north side. So I live along the trail, the part that's paved. There is a problem there. The first few years, it looked really nice because Independence was getting ready for RAGBRAI. The students from the school proceeded to take all of the big rock, of course, and throw it into the ravine. Those are all gone now, the big rock that was there to control erosion. Now they're at the pedals. the little pebbles that are left. So you can see daylight underneath that crossway, right above the culvert, where the culvert is. My kitchen window looks out on the trail, and when the kids cross from school, I'm usually, when they are leaving school, I'm preparing a meal. So I looked out the other day, and somebody threw something out there. I thought, what was that? By the time I got my shoes on, of course, I'm the bad guy in the neighborhood. By the time I got my shoes on and got outside, he was throwing the books from the little library into the ravine. So all the books from the little library were gone. So it's something that I don't know if it's possible to have a camera to go with the library and the school and the city, but they don't like me very well.
Do you know who the person was, or were you?
No,
aware
I
who it
don't
was?
know anybody. I've only been in Independence 5 years or so. There is another issue. The ravine is really filling up, and it needs to be cleaned out. I talked to my lawn guy today. I asked him if he could clean my portion out, and he does not have the equipment to do that. The water stays in that ravine, so hopefully when the city sprays for mosquitoes, that ravine is thoroughly sprayed because it's a good breeding ground. It's just thick with weeds and trees and cattails. I like the cattails, but I don't like anything else.
We don't spray, do we?
No, we
There needs to
generally
be
do not.
something, because there's a lot of people that use that trail. And a good comment I'd like to make is the adults that walk their pets, they do clean up after themselves. They're very good about that. They have their bag and they clean up after themselves.
Good.
But that ravine all the way along, and I asked my lawn guy if he could take care of it, and he said he couldn't because he doesn't have the equipment. It will take some, like, what are they, bush hogs or something like that? And if it's maybe, or he suggested last fall to have it burned off, but I didn't know if I could do that, so I just left it be.
No,
And
we'll-
it might be something that the fire department and the city could look at, and when everything dries up, and burn as much as they can off.
We'll have the street department come out and take a look at that this week.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you for letting us
And one
know.
other thing, snow removal. The school does not go 1 inch further than their property. The city does the north-south. There's the cross part where the culvert is and where the concrete goes over, where the kids actually walk. That usually is not cleaned. So that's something that maybe, once in a while, we'll go out and clean it, but not always.
You're the street that has a walk bridge, is that right?
You walk by my house a lot.
Yes. I thought you did your own yard work too, so I learned something new.
Yeah.
You did, what, last year?
Oh, I still do my own yard work. I just
Oh,
don't
come on.
treat my lawn.
Oh, yeah, well, oh, that's what
I
you call it,
still
lawn
mow.
guy.
I don't mow the backyard. It's way too big.
Okay,
I do mow the two.
okay.
Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you for your comments, and we'll
Thanks.
look into it. Thank you very much, Catherine. Next on the agenda is annual 4th of July parade with Christian, our chamber director.
My name is Christian Lutz. I'm the Executive Director of the Independence Area Chamber of Commerce, 112 First Street East, and you have before you our application for the 158th Annual 4th of July Parade.
Sweetie.
Okay? And I will need a motion to approve the Independence Chamber of Commerce 2018 4th of July Parade to be held on Wednesday, July 4th from 8:45 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. and to waive compliance with city independence codes, which are several of them listed. If I can get a motion to that.
So moved.
Motion by Scharf.
Second.
Second by Hayward. Roll call, please.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes,
Vaughn.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Good luck. Next on the agenda is petition from the public in regards to the flag at Highway 20. And was there somebody that was the main speaker for this?
I'll go first. Trump's got a meeting here in about 6 minutes, so I want to be for that. My name is Charlie Tutwiler, 415 4th Street Southwest. I know some of you.
Yeah.
Larry, I know him. Denny. I graduated from Independence, Jefferson in 67, Iowa State in 71, joined the military, flew jets for them for 26 years. I have a house here in town now. I pay high taxes. One thing I did notice when I was coming into town all those times, I lived in 12 different states, was that every time I'd come in on Highway 20, well, I remember the first time I saw the flag and the sign, I thought, that's really nice. So my input would be I'd like to see it stay, whether it's funded by the city or Bill does it, I'll help out either way. And I see there on your sign there, you got improved self-image. That would certainly help. Not that we have a bad image, but anytime you can support the military and have the flags, I think people appreciate that. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie.
There's someone else that wants to speak?
Karen Connell, 312 2nd Avenue Southwest. As a resident of the City of Independence, and I'm also a member of the VFW and the American Legion, and my husband is also too. And my husband served in the occupation troop as an occupation troop in Germany. 2 brothers who served during Vietnam and the Gulf of Tonkin, a son and stepson who served during the Korean War, a nephew and grandson who served several times during the Iraq War and the Afghanistan War. These military branches that these men served was the Army, Navy, Air Force, National Guard, Army Reserve. We, our family, have been very fortunate that our military families all survived and returned home. But some families weren't as fortunate. What did these men and women fight for? And some of these men and women that have served in the military and weren't as fortunate were not able and had the benefit of having families and watching them grow. I request the Council of the City of Independence find the funds to continue flying the flag on the flagpole next to Highway 20. The taxpayers of the City of Independence pay property tax, franchise fees, option tax, sales tax, et cetera, et cetera. We support such things as bike trails, swimming pool, tennis courts, hanging flowers, new vehicles every year, and fun events such as Brubacue and July 4th and others. Thousands of dollars have been spent to rebrand the city. We purchase equipment for recreation, sidewalks for everyone to be safe, and then see them walk down the middle of the street. We are lucky enough to sit in the recliner and turn on the TV with the remote. Some of these people haven't been as fortunate to even be able to sit down to the TV. Some of these military people weren't living high on the hog while they were serving. Don't we owe them something? I think you as a council and the city government can find $2,000 to $3,000 a year for the replacement of the American flag. This is a symbol of our freedom. For the past many, many years, the city has spent from $10,000 to $12,000 a year for fireworks that is blown up in a little over an hour. Let's consider the flag instead so we can at least view and respect it all year long. Finally, independence. Independence. Think of the name. And we can't fly the American flag? Let's reconsider. God help us. What are we teaching our kids? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there somebody here that's with the group for the flag fund? Somebody that's speaking for that? Do you want to get up now?
The first thing, I am Bill Calder. I live at 709 Spruce Drive here in Independence. The first thing on my agenda is to apologize to you and the citizens of Independence for the adverse effect that some of the things I've done has had on it, and they were wrong, and I accept full responsibility for them. So, an amateur messing around in a pro game, and I lost. So, I'm sorry. But on our agenda, I laid some papers on your thing. We are hoping the motion the council rendered in April to remove the flag and pole will be overturned this evening. I was wondering if we could have a motion of that nature tonight to rescind that. And there we have quite a group of people wanting to donate to keep that flag flying. And there are some things that I proposed the last time can never happen because the law controls that. But we would like to, as a group, finance the buying of all flags that are to be flown down there on 6th Avenue Southwest. And there will be a private account will be set up for all the funding donations at a local bank. And somebody at the American Legion or the VFW will handle this, and they will see to it as soon as a flag is tattered, they will bring a flag to the city hall so it can be replaced. Doug Q has offered 1 year of funding. I will address him personally to discuss the trust and to handle it in his funds, and he would be well informed. And of course, we appreciate very much the fire department raising and lowering the flag to half-staff when necessary and such like. We do appreciate that. And I want to thank you for letting us get it back up for Memorial Day. And now we like to see it fly 365 days a year. And funding, we will take care of it if this is agreeable with the council, if you will rescind that motion from April.
I make a motion to rescind that.
We're not at that point. We have more people that want to talk, so I should wait maybe.
Yes, we got another lady that's going to talk about
Well,
the
there's
funding.
There was two of them that were on the rope sign in the beginning, and I know of others that are out there. So I would like to let everybody get their comments in, and
Yes,
and
that
then the
is
council
fine.
can address this, but you have
Okay.
good ideas.
Thank you very much. And I'm sorry things turned out the way they did. And I got quite a lesson this morning from Al on how city government works. And man, I lost that one too.
Bill, I want to publicly say thank you. The way that you have handled yourself and our conversations here has been very professional and very cordial. Thank you for that. Some of the input that we've received over the last 24 hours has not been what I would classify as respectful or dignified. You and the folks from Independence have been very respectful. I applaud you. That is the way the system should work. Thank you for that.
Thank you. And I feel so sorry for girls in the office that have to take some of these nasty calls. That is, do anything to stop that. So thank you for your time.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you. Mary Kay, you were one that had signed in. Would you like to come up and talk now?
Good evening, Mary Kay Miller, 1300 3rd Street Northwest, apartment 19 in Independence. 2 weeks ago, I stood up here and I thanked the council for finding the funds for our senior center. And you did that, and we really appreciate that money that you gave us. Now I'm wearing a different hat. I'm chaplain of the American Legion Auxiliary number 30 in Independence, Iowa. And yesterday I did drive on the main artery, 6th Avenue, and looked at that flag and parked at the pole. So please remember the American flag, keep it flying. I worked with veterans in Florida over 25 years. They love that flag, they respect it, and I read all of your bills, and I know it's hard, you know, finding the resources and the funding. But there is a flag company 22 miles away in Waterloo, Iowa. You wouldn't even have the shipping and handling cost, and they will reinforce your corners for a few extra dollars. They'll do the extra vertical stitching, and I think if you gave more thought to this, I think you could keep our flag flying. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Dan, would you like to come back up on this subject?
Dan Lake, 815 3rd Street Southeast, Independence. I come from a strong back military. Nobody in here even knows this, but my family, we have 2 exhibits at full time at the Grout Museum. One for Civil War and one for World War I. And my dad, from day one that I can remember, we've always had a flag in our yard, and up north in northern Minnesota, he always had a flag flying at the cabin. And then last week when I heard about this, that council wasn't going to support this, I just thought that was pretty crazy. So me being me, when I'm driving down the road working, I have a lot of time to think. Watering the flowers in this town, we could stop that. That's, I'll guarantee you, that's at least $100 an hour for the 2 city people, the truck, the watering and all that. Well, we could just eliminate that, because them flowers haven't brought anybody into this town to live. And then paint on the bike path on the streets. That was a joke from day one, I thought. And we could eliminate that. Right there would buy the flags. The orange fence for our events. Instead of having paid city employees do that, why don't the people who are putting on that event put that fence up? Because the posts are already in. It doesn't take really smart people to put a fence up. And security on them, we don't really need police there, because at most big events, the people supply their own security. At our racetrack, and that's 5 times rowdier than any event we'll have, they have mall cops up there. And
light up the pole. The city will be responsible to install the flag. The Legion will take the used flag for proper disposal. And in addition, we will furnish funds to pay for the electrical lighting of the flag, to be determined how we pay for that annually, monthly, okay? So there's some structure that we've put behind this. Bill Coulter is the one, as you know, that's been behind this, and he just needed somebody to write this down. So we hope the city council will accept our offer, the unique challenge to find funds to keep our flag flying. And it's been a unique challenge, hasn't it? The way it came around. It's brought our community an opportunity to unite in patriotism, and we hope you'll show your support by making that motion and working with the American Legion then on what jobs you need to do to help us help you.
Those things can be tweeted and worked out.
Yeah? Awesome.
To answer your question, that is in a city park where the pole is. So it is on city property. It is a city flagpole.
And it would be understood that you maintain the
I understood that as your request.
exactly. Thank you. Thank you.
Doug Q is actually here also. His name was mentioned. Do you want to come up and talk, Doug? No, I knew you wouldn't.
Gary Wilson, Mr. Wilson.
Would you like to come up? Yes, come on up.
Hi, Council.
Name and address.
Gary Wilson, 506 27th Street Southeast, here in Independence. And I wanted to bring up some things that happened in the past, back when it was the time of Desert Storm. There weren't any flags flying downtown. And I came to City Hall and spoke to some people. Why weren't there flags flying during that time? Well, the answer I got was, well, we're coming into the winter and it's going to tear up the flags. And I says, tear up the flags? We've got people from this community and from this county who are over in Desert Storm. I got together with a businessman here in town and we bought flags for downtown Independence that flew all the time Desert Storm was going. And I felt proud, to be able to do that. But the one thing I wanted to state, my dad was the first Buchanan County prisoner of war during World War II. He spent 3.5 years in Japanese prisoner of war camp for that flag. And he went through hell. And he couldn't handle it anymore. And Christmas night of '67, he took his life, as is happening with a lot of people who are in the military. They can't handle the trauma. So to drive past that flag out there on the highway is a highlight of our community. And right down there is that sign that says Independence. That's what those men and women who go to war are fighting for. And I just want to speak my piece. I think it's a wonderful thing that people say about independence when they can see that flag and know that we stand for that flag. And I think it needs to stay up there for that purpose. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Is there anyone else out there? Come on up.
I'm Russell Chris, the commander of the American Legion Post 30 here in Independence, and I want you all to know that this is not just... Sorry.
And a busy person.
Not just an Independence issue. We have gotten phone calls from all over the United States in the last few days. I just talked to some people from Portland, Oregon, and Wisconsin, and New York, and this is important to everyone, not just local Independence people, and I want you to know that.
Thanks, Russell.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I think it's fantastic that we got this kind of response at the last council meeting on this topic, and that you're here again tonight. I wish we had this kind of interest from our citizens on every topic that we have, because it's nice to know that you are interested in what's going on. Sometimes by the time somebody gets here, it's been on our agenda, we've discussed it, it's been going on for about 2 years, and then people show up, which is after the fact. There's a lot more to this information than what's been brought out publicly as to what even started this. Our elected officials are not negative to the American flag. I know John is a veteran. I'm not sure about the rest of you. I have a granddaughter that's in the Navy right now. Both my sons and my husband were all in the Army. We believe in that flag too. It was discussed about changing the location of it because of what the wind does to that flag and how often it has to be changed. I think this idea of this group, citizens group, doing this is fantastic. I'm sure we can work with you and work out some things if the council decides to vote and change their decision from before. But one last chance if anybody that has something else they want to say.
Mayor, I'd like to say something. I made the statement last meeting that I'm a veteran also, and it means a lot to me to see that flag out there. And I guess in the discussions we had, it made a lot of sense to try and relocate it to a different area. But the high visibility that it has out there on that highway, I think far outweighs the costs. And whether it's a veterans group, who, in my opinion, the veterans have already paid enough. I think we should look into our hotel motel tax funds and redirect finances from there to maintain the flag. I love their offer, and if they can help with some reinforcement of the flags, that type of thing, that'd be awesome. But I think it's up to us as a city to use those funds from hotel motel tax wisely, and this is a perfect way to honor not only our veterans, but all of our citizens.
That is where it has been being paid out of all this time, so. And people need to understand, if we not only pay for that flag, we probably have 11 to 14 flags in this city that the city pays for and makes sure are up and brought down for half-mast, all that good stuff. So it's just not one flag for Independence, Iowa we're talking about. That just seems to be the most visible one, so.
I'd like to ask a question. Well, I know you're a veteran, I'm a veteran, Danny's a veteran, I'm not sure who else is, I go along with what you just said, John. Nobody has to answer this, but I'd like to know who put that on the agenda in the first place. Because I didn't. It has to be city manager or the mayor, or city council, unless a person come with a form. And I hope it never happens again, but I've been asked, I mean, who put it on there? I mean, I had people get rough with me. I had a guy grab me at McDonald's going to thrash on me. And he didn't mean it. I mean, we got to take it seriously. And my thing is, you don't have to answer me, but I'd like to know who put it on there in the first place and why.
It was discussed in our government finance meeting. I don't know if it was discussed in any of the other.
We didn't have it in none of our
meetings or not. And the only reason it was done was because of cost. It wasn't that we're against the veterans. We're not against the flag. And I think we made a mistake, and we can change it.
Thank you, Deb.
I think we're ready. I'd like to second Deb's motion.
Would you probably like to make that again, since I kind of shut you down earlier? Would you like to make your motion again to make sure we have it?
I make the motion to send that, and that we make the motion to fly that flag. And I agree with John that we need to help out. The veterans have paid their price, and it's great to help out, but not to have to take it on full responsibility. Work part way if there's money in there. Doug steps forward to put in for a year. We get names on that list that's going to put in money. We'll certainly buy a flag. So you just need to get name a list of people, and it can be done.
We, at this time, in my closet over home.
You need to come up here so people need to hear you, so you've got to come up here so this audience out there
Come up,
on
Bill.
TV land can hear you. Sorry. Anybody out there in television doesn't know who's talking.
Okay, I am Bill Coulter. You know where I live.
You're well known now.
But at this time, I have 4 flags stored in my closet, waiting to be hung.
8
So
by 12?
we're gonna be, these are been bought by private citizens.
Oh, okay.
Where, and the one I hung is not a quality flag, but that was the first one I could get that would guarantee me the delivery on Thursday so we could hang it on Friday. But the rest of them flags we are talking about, some of them are quadrupled stitched to stand the wind. And we have some very good ones. We have gone to 3 companies with this, and we have 3 different grades of flags. And this is, it is the veterans, I think it's the people of town that want to donate to see this continues. And thank you.
Thank you for all the work you've done on this,
And if
getting
you,
the committee together. Appreciate it.
and if you people get rid of me, I don't blame you a bit. Thank you.
Another
Thanks,
motion.
Bill.
Karen Connell, can I just make a comment? In the motion, can this be designated as long-term, that this won't come up, say, in a year, or the new council, another council decides to do something different? Can this be a length of time added on to that motion? It's only a suggestion, so that this doesn't come up periodically, that we have to deal with this
We
issue.
got Bill Coulter to take care of that.
I don't think we can make a motion that affects future councils, but you guys know how to get here and what to say, and you know the system now.
In resolutions and ordinances and everything, you put, I mean, when you come up with the franchise fee or whatever, you put a time limit, this is for 10 years or whatever. Can that be designated in a motion of a length of time?
I don't know if
that
this particular kind of a motion can.
I think Al
I don't
has-
believe so.
I
We
think
can
that-
check into it, I
Al
don't
has
believe
an
so.
answer.
Yeah, I think that it would be inappropriate, and I'd question the legality of tying future councils' hands on something like that. The other examples that you use have very specific state code that support that or designate some of those items.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I have had this conversation previously today, and I understand it. Quite honestly, the system works because the community came forward and said, we disagree with the proposal, and we respectfully ask you to change your stance on it. The council's taking action tonight, and I think that the system that people have fought to preserve is working. So,
And the key word there is you respectfully did this, because a lot of the phone calls the girls at the office and I got on my phone today were not respectful and were very nasty. But they were all people outside of Iowa, and I don't think there was a single one of them from Independence. This town has a lot more respect for each other and listening to each other and working things out and coming to the best solution that's best for everybody. And I really, truly appreciate each and every one of you that are there, that are out there. We have a motion and a second to approve. Do you want to read her motion back?
She stated that she had a motion to rescind and then fly the flag at the city's cost. And it was seconded by Bob, if you still second that.
Yes.
Everybody understand that? All those in favor, or we want a roll
I
call?
think we should have roll call on
Yes,
it.
we need a roll call on this.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
Absolutely yes with a capital Y.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Hannah.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is unanimously passed. Thank you.
Mayor? Mayor, I'd like to make one comment here, and I think this is a lesson for all of us, that national news has 30 seconds. They don't go into detail, they don't find out the basics. Mr. Coulter, I don't think you did anything wrong. I watched that news broadcast, and you were very good, very concise. The commentators, I believe, were the ones that created a hostile environment with their negativity and their sarcasm. And I think that's for all of us to understand, that when we see or hear something, we need to look at more than just one source. And I think independence, having been an ex-government teacher, I think this was democracy at its best, and on TV it was portrayed as something negative going on, when in fact this was democracy at its best. So thank you for the citizens for doing that.
Bob, would you call it the fake news deal?
I am
No,
not
we're not
saying
even going
anything.
there. We're not going there.
I don't care which network would have put that on the news and presented it the way they would have. I would have felt the same way.
And anytime there's something that's going on, we are televised. Our agendas are always on our website, and all the attachments are there. You can always see the agendas, know what's coming up before the meeting. You can always come here. Every one of you has at least 3 council members you vote for, 2 of them at large and the 1 for your ward. You can always call those individuals, let them know your opinion, let them know what you would how you would like to have them vote. Whether they do or not, that's entirely up to them, because that's why you voted them in. But you have that opportunity, and I really appreciate the fact that we got this response. I would love to see this kind of response on everything going on in our community. So, thank you all.
We'll see you guys in 2 weeks, okay?
Yeah, you all coming back in 2 weeks? Make sure you check the agenda. It's going to be interesting. Okay, moving on our agenda, next is hearings and ordinances. We have a rezoning ordinance, so I need a motion to receive and file proof of publication of notice of public hearing.
So moved. Second.
By Scharf, second by O'Laughlin. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Now I need a motion to hold the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by, is that you?
Second.
Laughlin, second by Sharp. We just reversed it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried.
Excuse me, Mayor, maybe we could pause for a minute while some of the people that want to leave can leave.
Thank you all for coming. Hope to see you again.
Thank you.
We are now in public hearing in regards to rezoning property south of Wapsie Creamery.
Yes.
Is there anyone that was here in order to speak to this public creamery?
This is
We
the,
are in public hearing for changing or rezoning the property south of the creamery. If you want to come up and speak on that, we are in public hearing at this time. This is your chance to come forward.
Ryan Nielsen with Wapsie Valley Creamery. We're requesting the block south of the current creamery location to be rezoned as M2 industrial, so we can expand our operations there at a future date. And we've purchased all of the lots in that block that we're asking to be rezoned. And we had a meeting with, sent out a letter to all the neighbors, and had a meeting with the zoning committee, and I'm sure you guys got the results from that, the recommendation from the zoning committee, but just would mean a lot to us to be able to expand our operations into that block. So appreciate all your consideration with that.
How many neighbors did that consist of?
What's that?
How many neighbors did that consist of?
We got the list from Doug Cooks, everybody within 200 feet of that block.
But you don't know how many residents that was?
I don't know, 10 or 15 probably.
Ryan, at one time, there were 2 properties on the south,
9th Street.
yeah, southwest corner there.
Yep.
I keep using the wrong pronoun.
Wapsie
You-
Valley
you-
bought the white house, was
Yeah,
E.V.
the white and the
Hoover's,
yellow
and then
house?
Goins' house was the yellow house on there,
Okay.
so we've purchased both of those.
Okay.
So you own everything on that property right now?
Yes, yeah.
Does that include that where they're staging trucks at right now?
The big gravel lot, yep.
You're gonna put a building there?
Long-term, we want to build on that block, yep.
Where are you gonna put the trucks? They're off the street. I'd like to see it that way.
Yeah, we've got a lot over on our warehouse 3 north of Pat's Tap, and we've got a lot in the,
Well, that was suggested before, but they never used it.
yeah, I don't know on that. We also own the, call it the Green Warehouse, which is on the other side. We could have trucks parking there also. So I guess we don't know exactly how the building's going to lay out 100% yet, but we'd like to have it zoned so we could go forward with designing.
I'd like to know where you're gonna put the trucks. Like I said, I really wouldn't want to see them back in the street.
Okay.
We had a lot of complaints about that, a lot of them, every day.
I mean, this,
And
I don't know
it
if
didn't seem to
there's
get any better, you know?
Are there any
Yeah.
issues with, I guess I don't know what the street is zoned for city ordinance for parking wise on that street, if it specifically says no truck parking or,
No, there's truck parking there,
okay.
but
So why would that be?
they were kind of abusing the 3 trucks all day long, you know?
So,
Just a thought.
yeah,
Is that the same block where the laundromat's at, or is that down a block? Is laundromat down farther south?
it's further east.
Okay, okay.
Same.
I'm trying to get bearings.
It's
on-
between 10th and 9th Street.
Okay,
Right across
Thank you.
from the office.
okay, thank you.
So I guess I can't guarantee any answers on the truck parking that your concerns are right now. The biggest question that people, or concern that the neighbors had was parking on 9th Street and no truck traffic on 9th Street. So we would make sure we didn't have any loading docks on that street. So there would be loading docks on 10th Street because we already have 6 docks on that 10th Street. So there is going to be truck traffic throughout the day on there.
Right, truck traffic's not a problem, so when they park there and stay there all day, you know, that's the
They
problem.
don't stay there all day.
Oh, I know, but then one would move out and one would move in. I know how it works.
Yeah.
There was trucks there all,
Isn't that what a street is for? It's for traffic to move in and out?
excuse me?
Isn't that what a street is for, is for traffic to move in and out?
Right, it's very hindrance doing that when there's trucks parked there.
Yeah.
You're right. That's what it is for.
Is there anyone else in the audience, since this is public hearing, that wants to come forward and have any comments for this particular topic? Since he's here, he might be able to answer anything. Sit closer, just in case.
Couldn't trucks parked to the west of there, along the tracks there, in that area?
We do have a lot on the west side of the building that we do have truck staging in right now. And we also have a lot across, like I said, to the north of Pat's Tap on
Yeah.
Second Avenue, Chatham Street.
So there is potential there to get them off the roads.
Yeah, and we request them to park in a certain area, but truck drivers don't always do exactly what you tell them to, so.
I can testify to that. My mother's integrity is questioned several times.
The trucks typically show up, meet with our office staff, and we direct them where to park. We don't always have control over where they end up at, so.
I grew up in that neighborhood and I drive up there frequently because my family lives up there and I've never had trouble passing on 10th or 9th. So I guess I don't see too many problems with it.
But you do see a problem. Not too many, but you see a problem.
But on occasion.
Yep, there's.
But not on 9th.
No, 9th is clear.
And I went to the planning and zoning meeting, and there was,
Several two neighbors there.
and they didn't have a problem with it, as long as they stayed off the 9th Avenue.
Yeah, but it's
trucks.
people going down the street that have a problem with it.
Right.
Not the people that are sitting at home watching it out their window.
To be honest, I avoid that street. It's pretty easy.
I think some of that truck traffic too, though, has been dispersed because now loading trucks out down at the old Walnut Grove, and then they will also be loading out some trucks at the new warehouse on the other side. And part of the problem up there was the old loading docks with the trucks getting bigger. They were coming out onto the street, whereas now with the angle back in, they used to cause problems, particularly if you had trucks along the side. So I think there's been some changes that have helped with vehicle traffic on that street.
I think it's been a big improvement. I do. I think it's a big improvement, but if you're gonna build a building out there where that parking lot's at now, that's just gonna put the truckers right back out in the street.
Well, what I'm saying is with the current loading dock setup, you don't also have the front ends of the trucks.
That's true,
out in the
that's
street.
true, but you still
And that
got,
created a big problem.
well, if you figure the weaving in and out you had to do to get through there.
You've got 6 docks up there right now?
Yeah, we have 2 on the cooler edition that we just built, and then we have we don't back trucks into dock 3 or 4. Those are just for moving equipment in and out. And then 5 and 6, the numbers are painted on the side out there. Those are kind of intermittent use, so. And those trucks, when they get the really long ones, those were the ones that we were using all the time that were sticking 4 or 5 feet out into the street. So we try not to use those docks any more than we have to.
With the new warehouse to the north, will that alleviate some of the truck traffic also?
All of the loads that are going out of 5 and 6 right now will be out of the new warehouse to the north. And we'll have our box truck moving from that 5 and 6 to the new warehouse. So it won't be as long of a truck.
So they'll substantially reduce it, basically.
Yep. And now with the 2 docks, they can kind of stage, and they're really not even in that gravel lot across the street very long.
Yeah.
Doug?
I just wondering, I mean, we use that street a ton. Ever since they put the new loading docks in.
You need to come forward, Doug, so they can hear you. Introduce yourself. Everybody wants to put a face with this name.
Doug Q from Independence, Iowa here. Ever since they put them new loading docks in, there is very seldom you ever go up that street again where there's any trucks parking there. I mean, them docks have alleviated all that problem. I mean, it very rarely ever go up and through there. Just made that point.
Okay,
Doug, that's
thank you.
true, but did you notice on the north side there where they're parking the trucks now?
What do you
In
mean?
that lot, that's where they're parking them. They're off the street. They're out of the way.
But what it sounded like you was saying was how they was blocking that street.
They were.
And they're not now.
No, it's true, they're not now, because they're not in there. They're in a parking lot, which they want to put a building in that parking lot. That'll put the truckers
No,
back
that-
out in the street, and then believe me, they'll be in your way. You won't be able to get through there with a rickshaw
Is
someday.
that the lot where the dumpster is? Very seldom, how many times have you ever go up by that there's a truck in there? Very seldom.
And where?
In that lot.
I seen 3 in there just the last time I went by there.
I mean, every time we go by, very seldom there's ever a truck in there. They have,
Are you
whatever
talking
they've
about
done
the
to
lot
when they
in
put them
question,
docks
or are you
in, it's
talking
made
about
that.
Where they want to put the building, where that,
Well, that's not the one where they're staging the trucks.
it is.
The question is whether or not this lot is rezoned. It is not about what does the building look like, what are the building setbacks. At this point, it is a zoning question, and not a setback question, just for clarification.
But my issue is what's gonna happen if we rezone it, they build the building there. They're gonna put the trucks right back out in that street.
And again, this is for the rezoning, so none of that needs to,
Well, that should be taken into consideration when you're making a decision, I would think.
I'd like to bring up a point made up earlier about the police station, and how you guys didn't want to take anything off the tax rolls of an existing building, and we really can't build anything on that lot, which you're getting next to nothing for tax income off of right now. If you rezone it as M2 industrial, we can actually build something, work with the building code and building permit, so it works for everybody. But if you don't rezone it at this point in time, then you can't add any value to that lot. So
right.
seems to be a very important thing to everybody to add tax bases to the town, and we can't do that if you don't rezone it M2.
Thank you.
Final point.
Did you get anything, email or anything personally? Then I need a motion to close the hearing and receive and file oral and written comments.
So moved.
Motion from O'Laughlin, seconded by
I'll second.
Kurtz. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Are we down to waiving the requirement? Motion to waive the requirement of 2 considerations of this ordinance prior to this final passage, and have this measure placed on its final passage for adoption pursuant to Iowa Code Section 380.3.
I'd make a motion to have the second and third reading done.
I'll second that.
Motion and second for that, so I need a roll call.
You want to skip the second and third reading?
No.
No.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
That gets us into trouble.
We're not waiving those?
I make a motion not to waive them.
Okay, just for clarification, to streamline it, because I misunderstood you. It does not require a motion to not skip those. You have to have all 3 readings unless you waive that. So at this point, it would simply be a motion to accept this on a first reading.
Okay.
For the change of zoning.
Correct.
And there'll still be 2 more readings.
Right, unless you waive the second and third reading. But at this point, if you simply have a motion to conduct or accept on first reading, there's still 2 more readings that have to happen until you waive the others. Or go through the process.
So did you want your motion to be to accept this for the first reading?
Yes.
Okay. And John, yours is to second that same motion?
Correct.
We're all on the same page? Now I need a roll call.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
I'm going to abstain. I've had a lot of years there, so.
Can he make that thing when he doesn't work there anymore?
Ultimately,
I haven't been there for a year.
decision whether he abstain or not. I'm not sure if there's a basis in terms of a conflict of interest or anything that I see by virtue of spending time somewhere.
Do you own any stock or anything in the company?
No.
Any pension?
Okay.
You don't need to
I see no
abstain.
legal
Okay.
basis for you to be required to.
Okay,
abstain.
well, I'll say yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Oh, yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Unanimous?
Yeah.
Motion carried. Thank you very much. Okay, next on our agenda, fiscal year 2018 budget amendment. A motion to approve the resolution amending fiscal year 2018 budget and transfers.
I'd make a motion.
Motion by Kurt, seconded by
I'll second it.
O'Laughlin. Roll call.
Hill,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward.
Yes.
Thank you, motion is carried. Next, a motion for the adoption of a preliminary resolution pursuant to section 384.42 of the Code of Iowa.
Just for clarification, I think this mayor stated earlier, there was a publication snafu, and we have to reinitiate this process from the beginning. And this is on the 2nd Street Northeast paving, curb and gutter special assessment. But yes, you've been through this before. Yes, we have to do it again and republish.
I have a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Hill.
Second.
Second by Scharf. Roll call, please.
Sharp,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Thank you, motion carried. Next step in this, motion to adopt the resolution approving and adopting the said preliminary plans and specifications and plat and schedule and estimate the cost of pertaining to the 2018 2nd Street Northeast PCC paving project.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Hayward, Commissioner first, second by Kurtz. Roll call, please.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Next is a motion to set a public hearing to be held on the proposed resolution on necessity on June 25th, 2018, 6:30 PM at City Hall.
So moved.
Motion by O'Laughlin,
Second.
second by Scharf. Roll call, please.
Just, can I make a comment? I know there's some people out here that have properties on Second Street. 2 weeks from tonight is when we will be discussing it.
Four
Just-
weeks.
4 weeks.
4 weeks.
4 weeks.
June 25th.
Okay. Just so you guys are aware.
Gives us enough time to make sure it's published correctly so that we can actually hold the public hearing. Apologize for you guys have to be here tonight under the assumption that the error. June 25th, we'll be here. Did I get a motion second? So we need a roll call?
Yeah.
Okay, roll call.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Thank you. Next step is a motion for the adoption of a preliminary resolution pursuant to Section 384.42 of the Code of Iowa.
This pertains to the street maintenance, 2018 street maintenance project with the crack seat and overlay project that encompasses an 11-block area subject to favorable bids. It was the original 8 blocks with 3 added as an addendum.
I'd make the motion.
Motion by Kurt, seconded by Hill. Roll call, please.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Thank you, motion carried. Next is a motion to adopt the resolution approving and adopting the said preliminary plans and specifications and plat and schedule and estimate of costs pertaining to the 2018 street rehabilitation project.
So move.
Motion by
Second.
Hayward, seconded by, I'm not sure which one I heard first. Is it O'Laughlin on this side? Okay, roll call.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Thank you. Gina keeps me legal, so she hears the voice, she knows which one to write down if I don't get it. Last part of this is a motion to set a public hearing to be held on the proposed resolution of necessity on June 25th, 2018 at 6:30 PM at City Hall.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Scharf, seconded by Hill, roll call.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Thank you, motion is carried.
So that's sufficient time to meet the requirements of the
Right.
publishings?
The issue we had on the last one is it requires 2 publications. It was published once, not the second time. So we retraced our steps. Both of these will require 2 publications within no less than 10.
Two consecutive
2
weeks.
consecutive weeks, same day.
Yeah.
A 10 and 20 publication window that we have to meet. So that's why it's on the 25th, is to follow all those criteria that are set by the state.
I have a question. Is this going to jeopardize our completion on this if we're not even approving it until the end of June?
Both of these projects are relatively small based on, timing. Will it jeopardize it? It's going to Second Street Northeast. It will make it tight.
I'm just wondering how many people are going to be interested in even bidding it if they've got all their other work already booked. I think we're way behind the 8 ball on this thing. We've been talking about this project since last, November or December? I think it's kind of embarrassing.
That's kind of the way government works though, John. Embarrassing.
Yeah.
Okay, moving forward, under new business, Motion to approve the sale of 908 7th Avenue Northeast to Doug Q.
So moved.
Motion from O'Laughlin, seconded
Second.
by Scharf. You want a roll call on this also?
Sure.
Please.
Hill,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Next is a motion to include water and sewer utility upgrades to the First Street East reconstruction project.
When we did the initial RFPs for engineering services on First Street, we instructed the engineers to leave off any reference or work pertaining to the utilities because we didn't have a scope to give them. And instead of trying to guess at it and have people putting high numbers in, we asked them to leave that out until such time as we had a design for them or a concept of what it would cost. We currently have that. This addendum does reflect those costs with the water and sewer line replacements. The sewer line, there are about 2.5 blocks that have been slip lined that may not need to be replaced, but otherwise the sewer line in large part has to have some engineering to put the replacement in.
I'd like to present the idea of the feasibility and cost of a crossing there with the lighted crossing for the library, stoplight.
Oh, the stoplight at the
Yep.
crossing. We can do that. That isn't really going to affect the engineering costs, and I'd let Mr. Kimball address that more specifically.
Yeah, I can kind of talk about the addendum we have now was for the additional utility work that wasn't included in our initial estimate. That was like Mr. Roder talked about, that wasn't part of the initial proposal. There is water and sanitary sewer that runs the entire length of the project.
Sure.
What you're talking about, we're putting together some preliminary kind of plans and layouts of the street right now to present June 4th at the Public Works Committee to kind of discuss that. And as part of that, we have been looking at potential crossing options to make that safer by the library. Some of the options, you know, we're already talking about narrowing the road, potentially reducing it even farther without maybe having a turn lane east of that intersection. Things like that. We got a few different options we're looking at that we want to present. So at that time, we can discuss farther opportunities. We did take a look at that TEEP study that was presented that had some suggestions. That I believe that was done, was that 2 years ago? Where they looked at various
I
intersections.
think it was done 2015, wasn't it?
Yeah, I want to say 15.
Yeah.
But it's hard to tell because it took a while to get it back, so it's a
Yeah.
little fuzzy. But yeah, that was within the last 3 years.
Yeah, and we did take a look at that, and they addressed that intersection along with a couple other intersections along First Street East. That one, there was really no discussions of stoplights at that time, given the fact that the school is not there anymore and things that kind of hurt when you're looking at stoplights because you don't have the ability to use the school crossing numbers as opposed to just normal crossing numbers. So that's harder to warrant a stoplight. But in order to really look into that, we would have to look at doing a study with traffic counts and pedestrian counts and things to verify that. But this is things that we'd like to discuss with kind of the preliminary plans to show you the options we've come up with to see, you know, what the city and the council think of that.
Sure.
The one thing I wanted to point out in this, and Dan and I did have a conversation earlier today, based on the city attorney's recommendation, the language under item 3, compensation, they did add the term estimated not to exceed fee to the $149,700. That means that anything above that would have to come back to council for approval, but it's a not to exceed number in there, and I appreciate that, Dan. I think that does address the city attorney's concern, and.
Would you anticipate any problem with any of the traffic studies with that ceiling for?
As far as fitting the traffic study into this, a traffic study where we would actually have to send someone out to do counts and things, that would probably be a few extra hours in there for that, because we physically have to have someone out there counting traffic. and that wasn't really part of the utility work that we were looking at. So there could be a potential extra cost for that. But like I said, I'd like to kind of go over our options, where we believe are making that intersection safer without having to potentially add stoplights, some of our options. And that's what we're working on now, to get those preliminary options kind of put together. So the city can, and the council can take a look at those.
The stoplight would be pretty costly, wouldn't it?
Stoplights,
200 to 300,000.
200, 300,000, yeah, probably somewhere in that range.
I'd like to make the motion on this, that, on this particular issue, and we can address the stoplight as we get closer to the finalizing the street plans.
Yeah, and I don't want, Mike, you to feel like it's not being addressed. I've heard you a couple of times, so I think there is an opportunity for that. But I think, in talking with Dan, it'd be more prudent to come to that. I mean, let's take a look at those options and see what they are. Council has the right to move into that direction if you choose. You always have that right. We're not going to walk past that point without giving you that option first, so.
I think on this project too, the whole thing would be on the city's shoulders as far as a stoplight, if we would do that, and I've brought that up several times too, so that would be, I don't think there'd be any additional sources of funding to put that in.
I just, on the stoplight, I know it's a safety concern, but living in that area, driving that First Street every day, sometimes multiple times, I rarely, if ever see anybody using that crosswalk. And nobody's using the buttons. And Deb and I even went up there.
Safe.
I've seen more people lean against the pole, the button's on, waiting for traffic to clear than actually push the button and go across.
I don't even see
And
people
it's
leaning
not very
against the
many.
pole. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. It's
a handful.
minimal, yes.
I will tell you it was used last night.
Oh, and I missed it.
I'd make the motion that we include the water and sewer utility upgrades.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Hayward. Roll call.
Scharf,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Engineer selection for Highway 150 reconstruction. You want to address that?
Yeah, in conversation with the DOT, they're getting ready to program the Highway 150 reconstruction, the north-south piece, not the First Street, which is already in the works. But in order to do that, the city has to develop a concept statement and a engineer's opinion of cost. We need that to submit to DOT to program it. I anticipate October 9th is when this information would be presented. They're having their regional meeting in Decorah. That's about the time frame for their programming, as I understand it.
Is this being looked at for 20 or 22?
22, 23 is the term that Tom Story at DOT gave me. I had planted the seed with him, I don't think very successfully, that maybe if we break it into two halves, that we could get one in 21. That didn't seem he was not enthused by that. So realistically, he's talking 22 and 23 if we break it in half. But that's, they have to program those dollars now for that project in, say 22.
Sure.
The design work and some of that other work would happen, obviously, in the front end of that, like the projects that we're doing this year, designing for next year's bid letting and construction. It would follow a similar concept. But we do have to, at some point in the very near future, like now, this summer, get an engineer to do an opinion of cost and a concept statement that can be shared with the DOT. That falls back on us because of the reconstruction. We carry the burden for engineering and design work, construction management. They put the construction cost.
Right, that was the trade-off.
Right. So that falls back on us at this point.
We have Crawford doing the trail, we have Crawford doing the 17th Avenue, I wouldn't see why we wouldn't just have them continue.
Dan, is this something you guys could work in since you're already working on part of?
I had kind of talked to Al a little bit about this. We're working with Tom Story and the DOT currently for the 150 portion. We're currently in the works of setting up a meeting to get that city-state agreement. We've already talked through the intercog and some of the SWAT funding that's being used on this project. The concept statement that they're looking at, we've done a lot of these. It's not that in-depth. I mean, we're already working on a piece of that roadway. We could work this in, and it's not going to be an extra cost. It's not that detailed of a concept statement. We do enough of them that we kind of have the format set up. Since we're already working on the roadway, we're working with the people at the DOT who we'd be working with as part of the 150 project. If the council is okay with it, we can go ahead and put the concept statement together. It's not that big a deal. Like I say, we do a lot of these. We work with District 6, DOT with Tom Story and Kent Ellis all the time.
My question, though, would be if you did this, would you expect to be hired as the engineering firm for the project?
No, we would go through the same process that we would for the First Street project. I mean, there would be nothing out there. You guys would have to go through the same process of looking at engineering firms and basing it off costs or qualifications, however you wanted to look at that.
Okay. You're saying you're not going to charge us anything extra to do this?
No, I mean, this is, like I said, the small project, it's like when we put the proposal together for you before. I mean, there are costs that we can incur. I mean, yes, if we do this and, you know, it's something that makes us look better potentially for future projects, but we're working on the current project in the roadway. As you mentioned, you guys are going to pick the next person based on qualifications and work they do. We're doing First Street now. If you don't like how it turns out, you're not going to pick us for the 150. But obviously, we would be interested in that. It's a similar project, and that's what we like to do.
I would make a motion, we have AECom do this project.
I'd second it.
Motion from Hayward, second by Kurt. Roll
I
call.
just want to make sure we're not logging into your.
No,
firm.
there's no agreement, signed agreement or anything like that. This is, we're working with the DOT. We're going to be in the exact same meetings together with Al and the people at the DOT who are in charge of the 150 project.
Okay.
From our standpoint, it's the same roadway. We can put it together for the city, and it's going to be Al. We're going to give it to Al, and he's going to use it when he's meeting with the DOT.
Roll call.
O'Loughlin,
No.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Motion carried. Last thing is real estate agreement with Casey's. Motion to enter into a purchase agreement with Casey's for the property to construct Enterprise Drive East. Long time coming.
This is the first piece of, there's first domino, if you will, in several that we hope will move this forward. There are several things within the agreement that Mr. Leidinger has helped walk us through. What you have is the final redlined copy of the agreement, largely agreeable to all parties. And I'd ask for your permission to enter into a purchase agreement with Casey's for our piece, which is the small triangle right off of the intersection. The way it's written is there has to be a couple of other pieces that come into place, including the sale of land from Ed Larson to Casey's, and in essence, a non-compete for petroleum sales from Rydell to Casey's on their property adjacent to this. The one thing that I would draw your attention to is Casey's is asking for a TIF rebate agreement similar to what we've done with Rydell and other retail establishments, which would be 10% of development costs for their new development, not for their existing. It would only be for whatever they add to what's already there. And that has been consistent with what we've done over the last 4 years for retail development. But that is built into this purchase agreement. We still have to go through those formalities and those agreements once we get the plans and the application showing what that amounts to. But in essence, you're saying, hey, we commit that we will continue to do a 10% TIF rebate on development costs.
To me, this just keeps growing. I mean, and Rydell hasn't stepped up to the plate to pay for a road, Casey's, and, you know, it's been a tremendous draw on our finances. I mean, it's increased also.
At this point, Rydell has gifted the land for the road. No, they have not paid for a road.
Right.
Nor are they going to. Rydell, Casey's has agreed in principle here that they will sell us the property that we need to put a driveway in. Or street, stub street in.
Contingent to a 10%.
Contingent to a development agreement. I will tell you the development agreement is consistent with what we've done with every other commercial application.
With streets? With
No,
development like
no,
this?
the development agreement for the TIF rebate on the improvements that they make to their property.
I think one thing to consider on this is we're cleaning up somebody else's mess that, I don't know when we drew plans for that area down there, but had they simply taken a ruler and drawn a line through, we wouldn't be having all this, but they didn't. And so unfortunately, it's probably going to be more costly for us to create a safe situation so that 10 years, 15, 20 years down the road, another council's not going to spend even more money to fix the problem. I mean, it's not the most tasteful thing that we do, but we're cleaning up somebody else's.
Well, this is basically what we've talked about in the past, the land behind Casey's in exchange for the purchase of the frontage so we can establish a good road, safe roadway.
Correct.
But the TIF and, you know, this is in addition to what we initially.
The TIF is, in essence, you're saying you will be patient on 10% of the cost of the improvement to receive that taxable valuation.
I understand TIF.
You know, it's not about we're giving away additional money.
No, I know.
So, one suggestion would be if you look at it, we don't do the deal, we don't have the street, Casey's does not expand, you don't have that valuation increase at all. So you get zero, you get 100% of zero or 90% of whatever the improvement is.
I would make a motion to enter into the purchase agreement.
Second.
Motion by Kurt, second by Hill. Roll call.
Hannah?
The one thing about the road is, like when Olds did their addition, they paid for the road, is that right?
And they also received a TIF rebate for the public infrastructure.
And G pays for his roads out there.
And he got a TIF rebate for, again, those are different under residential versus commercial, but in both of those cases, they received a 40% TIF rebate for public infrastructure. Again, because it was housing, it's treated a little bit differently than commercial, but they got 40% of the infrastructure cost through a TIF rebate over a 10-year period. This is 10% TIF rebate of the development costs for their addition, for what they add to the tax base, over a 10-year period. That's what we approved for Rydell. What Casey's has asked for is a development agreement comparable to what Rydell's received, and that's what we gave them. I only bring it to your attention because it is in here. I want to make sure you know that it's in here. Not trying to beat it up, but make sure that you're aware of it.
Vaughn?
No.
Kurtz?
Yes.
Hayward?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Scharf?
Yes.
O'Loughlin?
Yes.
Yes, she was first.
One thing on this, we were talking at one point of like October 1st or something. Have they kind of eased up on that part?
They have not softened on the the closing date of on or before November 21st. They do have in here language that says something to the effect of, they understand time is of the essence, but they will not, and according to their attorney, they cannot soften on that date. Now, there's some things in there, some rationale in there that doesn't add up for our interaction with them, but as long as it says on or before, I mean, that's the best that we're going to get as far as a closing date. If everything comes together accordingly, you know, he said the earliest they could do it if they rushed it would be sometime toward the end of July, which I don't understand. Now, that's part of their corporate process.
I suppose they have to do their budgeting and,
Well, they've got their budgeting, they've got some other work that they have to do internally before they can close on it. Again, you know, Steve and I spent a fair amount of time on the phone with them, trying to walk through this and encourage them to speed it up. I will tell you, I know that Rydell has had phone conversations with them to expedite this. It's not expediting.
I thought Al was persuasive, they didn't.
It is what it is.
well, thank you for all the hours you've put in on this. This is,
Yeah.
you dealt with some big egos.
Well, we have a couple more agreements that have to be entered into for this to move ahead.
Okay, we're down to reports. Dustin, do you have anything for the police department?
Our audience has cleared out quite a bit.
It has a little, hasn't it?
So, since the last time I was here, a couple different things that this people, or officers or people in our department have been involved in. Officer Cornwell went to, on the 17th, went out to East Elementary and West in the parking lot. They did a career on rodeo. So she represented the police department at that event. West Elementary had a bike rodeo. The day of the event, I was the patrolman, so I went out for a little bit, the best I could, stayed there, and then had to take off for a little bit after being there for a while. Today, East Elementary had their picnic and relay events outside. That I have a daughter that's out there, so I figured I'd stop by for a little bit and got to play with the kids out there while they're running around doing different things.
Is that why you're dressed like an officer today?
No, I've been dressing like this for the last week and a half. I get to be on patrol all week next week.
Well, maybe Darwin was wearing off on you.
I have to. Need to. On the, let's see here. This last Wednesday, we had a building search class that people in the department could participate in out at MHI. It went really well. Officers really appreciate it. The Wednesday prior to that, we had a search warrant writing class that was brought in. I partnered with MCTC out of Des Moines. They came in and actually brought instructors in here. We were out at Heartland Acres. We had 25 different officers, including our department, sheriff's department, DNR, railroad. We actually had a department from Missouri actually sent some officers up to go to the search warrant writing class we had at Heartland Acres, so we had quite a few, which was good to have. It was a training that I wanted to get officers into originally in Vinton, but when I called down there to get officers lined up for that, they were booked up and had a waiting list of 40 people, so I got a hold of the department there, the group that was putting it on, asked if they could bring it here, so that was free for them to bring it here. Heartland Acres donated the building, the facility that we had, so we had a nice training for the officers. So I did buy some stuff for them to eat and drink because there's no vending machines out there. But other than that, we had a really good training for the department. Last year, we participated in an event called Cupcake with a Cop. We've been asked to participate in that again. I believe it's going to be in August. I don't quite have final dates on that, but when I do, I'll let you guys know. We'll post that out as well. Other than that, it's busy. It's our summertime. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of different events that I know my officers will be involved in and will be a part of. 4th of July is going to be great. Aurora's not having their fireworks this year, so we will expect an influx of people coming down for the fireworks for the 4th of July. People that I know, I used to go to the fireworks up there when I was younger, but since I'm expecting to have a lot more people, this is going to be a great event, so. That's all I had for tonight, so. Thank you.
Anybody want to talk for the fire department that you're hidden behind there? Okay.
No, he said happy birthday.
Thank you. Council members, let's start with Mr. Vaughn.
Nothing tonight.
Okay. John?
I want to remind everybody that they're having a fundraiser this coming Sunday, well, Saturday and Sunday, for the Bark Park. Deb probably has more details. I just know I have to work it, so.
June 3rd, Sunday, at the new checker flag. Beanbag tournament. Bloody Marys. Lots of fun.
Yes.
Purse. Or you buy a purse and get something in it.
And
A great
we'll
day.
have pulled pork sandwiches and baked beans and some other things, I guess, ready.
It'll be great.
Should be awesome.
Is it staying the name of the checkered flag since it took ownership?
Stacy's
It's staying-
checkered flag.
staying the same?
Stacy's checkered flag.
Oh, Stacy's, okay, okay. Anything else?
And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike?
I don't think I have anything. Oh, yes, I do. The signage committee met tonight at 6 o'clock, so I was there for like 10 minutes. But there was several ideas floated around, and after I left, they were discussing ideas and sizes and places, and money will come into play at some point. I thought some of their ideas might be a little pricey when it comes down to the money part of it, but hopefully they'll have one that isn't on the city council night, so I can be there for more of it, but that's moving forward, I guess.
Good. Anything else?
That's it.
Bob?
I just like to thank the citizens that came out tonight and the level-headed approach and all the good comments, and makes you proud to be from Independence. That's it.
Thank you. Carl?
Had several calls last week. Are we gonna put the barrels out pretty soon?
Go ahead.
Yes, Bob texted me this morning that they were power washing them and they're gonna put them up this week.
Okay,
And they went up this afternoon.
all right, and to make sure they got clean, I'm sure they'll do that, but anyway, and the other thing, I know it's early yet, but we're talking about the July 4th. There was a group of people, I mean, a lot of them, come down from Waterloo last year, because they have people running them vendors. And I was down there, I don't know why, but there's no picnic tables. Where the vendors are at, there aren't any picnic tables. Even if there was just one per vendor, whatever, so people can sit down, they got their sandwich, and they're all walking around. These aren't young kids, by the way. And that guy goes, I'd have another sandwich, just probably sit down. And, so I just wanted to mention that we maybe should have, and I think, everybody makes more money, vendors make more money, I think, but anyway, I know, there must have been about 30 of them, all from Waterloo, and they want to come back again. And I think somebody mentioned that, I knew Roy wasn't gonna have theirs, so ours should be bigger and better than ever. Thank you, that's it.
Mike?
What are we gonna do with the sign down there? We're gonna keep the flagpole, I heard mentioned that Signs and More was gonna put a logo.
I've got a call into Signs and More to look at what would be feasible as far as repurposing the structure that's there. I don't have a call back from them yet on that. Casey was going to go take a look at it and try and give us some ideas. The digital sign is gone. I mean, that is dead in the water. That cannot be resurrected.
Sure.
So that part goes away. But as far as the rest of the sign and the structure that's there, he was going to give us some ideas as to what they might be able to do for that. Included in that was a conversation about the possibility of actually lighting that sign, itself. The digital sign was lit, the ticker tape was lit, the rest of it not so well. This maybe is an opportunity for us to do a better job of lighting a sign there that has our new logo and what have you in there, dresses it up. 40% of the cost of a sign is the pedestal or the stand and what it sits on. So that would be a pretty significant savings if we can repurpose some of that infrastructure.
Yeah, if he can wrap it so it meets our new logo, that'd be great.
Right, and again, not to put any ideas in there, those guys are the experts. I'd like to see what Casey thinks he can do with what's there, and we'll bring it back to you before we do anything, but at this point, you know, we've put everything on hold until we find out what that looks like and can bring that back.
I think the advancements they've had in LED and solar technology, there should be a way that we could do a lot better job and cheap, much more inexpensive.
Yeah.
Right.
Not cheap.
Not
Good
cheap.
wording.
More inexpensive.
Yeah.
Way of lighting that, the flag and the sign, everything, by
Actually,
the
I
use
had
of solar
somebody
and
email
LED.
me from out of state that we could save the $10 by putting solar on the flag.
Just for an FYI, there was discussion tonight at the flag or signage meeting about where to put the signs, but there was no discussion. There was, everybody agreed there needed to be one out there in that area. So it sounds like that's one place where there will be one for sure, whether it's, we can salvage some of the pedestal or the underneath part or whatever, you know, it sounds like that was pretty much unanimous that that's one location where there will be a sign.
Even though that solar, could we get in trouble with RAC on that for taking power out there?
I think that there's been some conversation about putting solar out there as it related to the flag. Clearly, being on REC, we'd want to have a conversation with them about putting solar there and, you know, any tax credits that might be available, not that we can use tax credits ourselves, but, you know, there's different programs that they might have. But we'll have to work with REC regardless of what we put out there.
That's all I have.
And a couple things. I'm on the Pathway Committee, and we talked about getting more drug prevention in the schools, and then also about getting the nasal spray for the opium overdose. Have you got any of that yet?
We have, actually, they came down and did a training for the officers, and half the officers have it, half of them don't.
Okay, 'cause that was
I
a
have it all, they
grant.
just have to be trained on it.
That was a grant, so, okay, good. And then the other thing was, last meeting, I asked about the money that we raised for the $1.50 environmental fee. And I went out and gave out quite a few flyers for the citywide cleanup and asked by several people what that money, they heard the meeting with that last month, and asked about the money, and Al, I think you emailed me back about, we got 62,000 out of that last year, and 26,000 was for the grinding.
Well, specifically, 26,000 was for grinding. The rest of it goes to, you know, any kind of the citywide cleanup is included in that, or.
Is that how we paid the citywide cleanup last year?
Yes.
Okay, that was a question
Our
asked.
compost turning and maintenance, you know, anything at the tree dump that we have to do out there is all tied into that.
Is that money kind of kept separate so we know that, or?
Yes.
It is?
Yeah, no, we have to keep that separate. It's for,
So somebody could actually come into City Hall and look at that then?
you know, it's tracked as a revenue, separate from all of our
Okay.
other revenues, absolutely. I mean, that's how we had the number for you.
Okay, thanks.
Does that meet what we need for the citywide cleanup, or is that?
We subsidize that annually, but again, that's what, you know, the question was, how much do we raise?
Right.
You know, the single biggest item is the chipping, and that's why I put that in there, but, you know, we subsidize those costs already. I mean, it doesn't cover 100% of everything. It's still the right thing to do, it's the right service. That tree dump is invaluable, we want to maintain that.
And everybody remember, the citywide cleanup's June 9th from 7 o'clock until noon.
Anything else?
That's it for me.
This afternoon, I tried to draft something to sum up the activities that took place today in City Hall that I'd like to read for everyone. I would like to publicly thank and apologize to my staff and other city employees who took phone calls regarding the American flag at Triangle Park today. Understanding that citizens are angry with the situation, I feel strongly that no employee or person should feel obligated to take such treatment or verbal abuse, be it on social media posts, phone calls, emails, or in letters. My department has been disappointed by the feedback people have called in with anonymously who haven't used the services or resources we personally provide. Our productivity as a department today was destroyed as we were forced to passively let these conversations spiral negatively out of control. I am choosing to use the power of speech to minimize the harm negative feedback, comments, and posts can cause. Today, we encountered people that tried to deeply hurt, shame, or violate each of us. We are going to lean into that feeling. Regardless of how anyone treats us, we stand to benefit. While some people teach us who we do want to be, others teach us who we do not wish to be. And this is the people who teach us who we don't want to be, that provide us with some of the most lasting and memorable lessons on social grace, human dignity, and the importance of acting with integrity. I'll add a sincere thank you to the council for all of your support.
Thanks, Gina.
Yeah, thank you.
No, that's all.
Al?
A couple of things real quick. The League of Cities Conference registration open today, so anybody who has an interest in going to the league, please let us know.
When is that, Al?
September 12th, 13th, and 14th in Council Bluffs.
I'll be going.
The reason that we need to know now is because I can't get you a hotel room until we get you registered for the conference, the way they have it set up, so we just soon you have a place to stay.
Yeah.
The only other thing that I wanted to bring up is I commend the people in Independence. Well, we had disagreements and maybe some firm conversations over the last week or so, today in particular. The folks in Independence were respectful. I will tell you, the folks from outside of Independence should take a lesson from our citizens. The filth and the language that was used, the emotions that were brought up have no place in the public sector regardless of people's opinions. We have the right to disagree. That's what the flag and the people that have fought for the flag have preserved for us. So I just want to say thank you to the Independence citizens who voiced an opinion. Bob, you said it very well. It is a demonstration of how democracy works. And so thank you for those folks that respectfully disagreed, and I think you saw several of them tonight. The only other item I have is I wanted to say happy birthday to Mayor Davis, and on behalf of the staff, we have a small happy birthday. So, and no, we're not going to sing.
Good. Oh, my gosh. I thought you were kidding.
They knew you were coming, so they
I
baked the
had
cake.
some, there's beautiful flowers on my desk, too, that the girls in the office, the ladies in the office, put up for me. It's
Where's mine
fantastic.
at? Mine was.
Oh, I like that.
Where's the light?
Okay, who ended up baking this? Is this a gluten-free?
Do you want it to be gluten-free?
I want the truth. Nothing but the truth.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I'm actually celebrating my 34th anniversary of my 39th birthday today. As we've been here tonight, my phone has been continually ringing with the long-distance telephone numbers like I've had all day long. And when I don't answer them, they leave me a voicemail, which has not been nice. I've responded to ones that weren't so bad, that were just questioning why we would think about taking down a flag, to let them know that that wasn't the issue, you know, and give them a little education. I did get an email from a company in Dubuque that sells flags that said they would sell them to us at cost plus shipping. I didn't contact them because I wanted to see what happened tonight and where we go with this, as to whether to follow up on that or not. I did have one person that sent me an email who was a injured vet and has lots of medical problems, which he shared and everything, and I responded to him to let him know what was really going on, that what he heard on Fox News was not correct, and offered to have a conversation with him, and that I would call him if he'd send me his telephone number, but that if he called me, I probably wouldn't answer, because if it's a number like some of them I've been getting all day, I've been ignoring most of them. But it's too bad that that kind of stuff happens, but it is nice to know that it's not coming from our citizens. Our citizens, I'm so proud of them to have been here and to speak up and share their ideas and come up with their own solutions and things like that. But there's a lot of people out there that are not as nice as our citizens, I'll tell you. So, other than that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn. So we can cut into this cake.
Second.
Everybody that called me, I give them your number.
Did you? I wouldn't be surprised.
No, I'm just kidding you. I had 3 or 4 people call me from out of state, and that wasn't my experience. They were kind of irate for 10 or 15 seconds, but after I told them,
Oh.
yeah, but until they found out the real issue, but after they found that out, they were quite good about it.
Most of them did not even let us give them the real
That's
issue.
the ones I give your number to. No.
Thank you. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. We are adjourned. Thank you.